Wealth is a Choice podcast. Boom.
Let's listen to it. Let's listen to it.
All right, Donnie, thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having me, James.
Yep. So I did want to say you have a really cool name.
Thank you.
Donnie Steele.
Thank you.
And I think in politics, sometimes a name can do a lot for you. I was thinking about like primaries and how different a primary is than a general election. In a primary where you might be running against 2 or 3 people, and it comes down to name recognition, I think, a lot of times. So, because not everybody that shows up to a primary knows everybody who they might want to vote for. Mm-hmm. And only half the people show up for a primary.
It's funny because I was, you already start knocking doors for the next season.
Yeah.
And I was talking to one of the residents that said, I never know who to vote for the judges. And I go down to the bottom of the list and say, well, I like that name.
Yep.
And I vote for them. And I'm like, it's unfortunate, but true.
I think that happens a lot.
Yeah.
And thankfully for you, your name is Donnie Steele, which is a really cool name.
Thanks.
So I was thinking if the 3 of us were running, Ryan Stafford, it depends if people like Matthew Stafford or not. They would look at that and they're like, I don't know. I don't like that guy for leaving the Lions, or maybe they do like him, maybe they still follow him. And they'd see James Studinger and don't even know how to say it. I don't think I'd get any votes. And they'd see Donnie Steele. They're like, I think she'd have us beat on name alone right out of the gates.
Well, it's fortunate for me, but not necessarily fortunate for like society as a whole. But in certain districts, women are also voted for because they're women, and so it doesn't necessarily mean that they're the better candidate. So every piece of literature that I have, I put my face on it because Donnie could be construed as a boy or a girl, and so if I put my face on it, so they'll know that I'm a girl, and so that I get extra points for the name and the face. So
there's 8 kids in my family, 4 boys and 4 girls.
Okay.
And my sisters are rock stars. And so I am a little biased, I'll be honest. I would typically migrate toward voting for the woman probably. Not that my brothers aren't good. They are. But my sisters are rock stars. And so my impression is that women can do anything. And I'm very impressed with my experiences with my sisters as a young age and then throughout life. So.
Well, that's nice. So are you a little brother or a big brother?
Bigger. To my sisters, I have my oldest sister, Molly. She was a fierce oldest sister. You couldn't get a better one. Okay. And then I have another older sister, Rebecca, and then me, and then everybody else.
Okay. Well, good. Then you had good. That's nice that you say that about your sisters. Oh, and then you're probably more competitive with your brothers because they're brothers, so you don't give them as much latitude as you would give the sisters.
Yeah, but there was a 4-year gap between Joe and me, and I didn't need to be competitive. That's 4-year gap. Yeah, no. I should have let him win more. Like I was just talking to my wife the other day, seriously, like last week. Like I should have let Joe win more. Like I wasn't. I don't know why. Why did I have to beat him? I'm 4 years older than he is. Like, You
could have done it with one arm and your eyes closed.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah,
it's good that you had a nice big family.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes it fun. As we get older, our families get smaller, but I come from a family of 6. There's 6 of us. And, when we get together, it's just so fun, and all the nieces and the nephews and all that stuff. And when the families get smaller, they won't have that, I don't know.
I know. It's totally
band.
Different.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're a House rep.
I'm a House rep.
And you're running for Senate.
I am running for Senate.
So I'd love to hear your experience in the House.
Okay.
And I'd like to hear some of the stuff you're doing in the committees and some unique stories you might have. And I'd like to also see what's different about being a senator. But can we start at the House?
We could start at the House. So I'm in District 54, and there's 110 House of Representatives in the state of Michigan. And I'll just kind of just belabor it a little bit for the audience because, as I knock doors and I meet people, I realize people say, well, are you running against Alyssa Slotkin? And I'm like, no, she's our U.S. Senator. Mm-hmm. Well, what do you mean state senator? So you have to almost like roll it back a little bit. But in the state of Michigan, there's 110 state representatives and there's 38 state senators. And then, of course, we have 2 U.S. senators, everybody does, and then we have 13 U.S. Congress for the federal government.
Okay.
So the way it's divided up is by population, not necessarily by geographical area. So 54 is if you start like at the bottom, like say Monroe, and you count across the state, 54 is Oakland County, and then 110 is up in the UP.
Okay.
And it's 90,000 people in which we represent. And my district happens to be all of Oakland County. It's half of Auburn Hills, Bloomfield Hills, where we are right now, Bloomfield Township, and Orion Township and Lake Orion, parts of Oakland Township. And the Senate district is 23.
So on the population, is each district supposed to represent the same number of people?
Yes.
It is,
yes.
really?
Yeah. So you'll see, like, in Oakland County and Macomb and Wayne, it's clustered full of state representatives in the metropolitan Detroit area. And I don't know, sometimes it's good and bad, but geographically, we're all condensed down here in southeast Detroit, and so we all have like similar experiences, and so we don't really necessarily have the perspective of, like, let's say Clare and Escanaba and Iron Mountain,
Right.
and so the state representatives in like the UP, they have 7 and 12 counties in which they
Right.
represent. I represent 1.5 townships. I mean,
Right.
so my perspective is little compared to what they have to pay attention to. And so, so what we find is that the representatives in this area lose sight that, we're a huge agricultural state. We're a huge tourism state. We still have mining that goes up in the UP that people down here don't even realize that we have cows and dairies, and we're like a big, huge potato farmer. We have a big, huge milk industry. And it's hard to have that perspective in Lansing to take those needs of our agriculture and our farms into lawmaking. I mean, even apple orchards and honeybee farms and those type of things are, big deals. I mean, and they help the economy roll. So, okay, then in the Senate, it's 200,000.
But then also for you to meet your people.
Meet your people.
They're in, like you said, a township and a half.
Yeah, right.
So it's really good one-on-one opportunities there for people to take advantage of that.
Yes.
And then I forget there's either 3 or 4 House reps in the UP. But they do span, like the distance would be like from here to, past Lansing. That they have to cover of territory.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
So like I literally can drive 20 minutes from
Yeah.
Orion. Here it's 20 minutes,
Yeah.
top to bottom,
Yeah.
right to left, 20 minutes. I
Yeah.
can go anywhere in my district. They're like in the car 3
Yeah.
hours to cover.
So
the
right or
district.
wrong, good or bad, the way it's spread out. But the point is, I think, like if you live in an area where your House rep is in a smaller confined area, take advantage
Yes.
to get to know them and meet with them and see what they're working on and share what you think is important.
Agreed. And sometimes I think that we almost should do it like oppositely. So like state reps, let's just say you do it by number of people, and then maybe state senate, you do it by geographic area.
Okay.
So that way you have the combination of the both, kind of like how our U.S. Congress is, we're 13 districts and it's cut up, geographically,
Right.
I'm in District 9, which is the whole thumb of, Lisa McLean's my congresswoman.
Okay.
It's the whole thumb of Michigan. And so, anyway, so if you did the Senate one way and the House the other way, you might have a better representation of people and land. So, and for instance, local control, and we're the solar panels and the windmills, and it sounds really good for clean energy because we're congested down here, but how does solar panels and windmills, how do the farm country feel about them?
They don't like them.
They don't like them.
Yeah. We get up to Port Sanilac quite a bit, and I talked to quite a few people up there. It's frustrating. And what sounds like a great idea here, and we'll just go put them over there, they got all kinds of land, and it's very frustrating.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
they're not in our backyard, so why should
Yeah.
we care if they're
Yeah.
in Alpena, you know?
Yep.
So
And a whole bunch of solar panels on a tract of land that used to be farmed or even used to be hunted or even just used to be enjoyed is now off limits for everything.
and they're not pretty.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah.
I was watching on a video of somebody putting the base of the cement base to hold up a windmill, and you know they did it on camera, so like speed.
Yeah.
My gosh, the amount of cement and rebarb
Oh, yeah.
just to hold those things up is just
Have you ever seen a blade on a truck? They are unbelievably huge. Like when you see them in the sky, they look pretty big. I was riding my bike one time up in the thumb, and a truck went by. It was one of those oversized. You know, there's one in front, then there's
Right.
the big one, and there's one in the back. And the truck went by, and it said oversized. I'm like, oh, I wonder what's coming behind me. And I didn't have a big shoulder, and I randomly thought, I might as well take a look. And I pulled off, and I looked. No sooner than I did this gigantic blade would have hit me. I mean, this
oh
thing
my
was
gosh.
tremendously huge. Like, I had no idea they were that big.
Was it just one blade?
One blade.
One blade.
And it's not even on one truck. It's like, I don't know, they connect a couple. It's incredible how big these things are.
So you think one blade, how much energy just to haul that
Oh,
one
yeah.
blade to put it
They're
up and put it
gigantic. Yeah, it's huge. Yeah.
That's a whole rabbit hole that I just
Yeah.
that
So
I
the committees help. So you're on committees, and the committees
Mm-hmm.
help to condense discussion.
Correct.
Right? So how does that work?
So it's I should probably know how many committees that there are, but let's just say there's like 15 of them, and the idea is that all the bills. Okay, so you have a great idea and you put a bill on a piece of paper and you have somebody help you write it up. It's legislative directing, which is a nonpartisan group that works in Lansing on behalf of the legislators. And so you can say, I have this bill that, I think that, everybody should wear pink on Friday. And you can go to the LSB, and they can write the bill for you.
Okay.
And then you get it signed and you introduce it to the clerk, and then it goes to a specific committee in which it would seem reasonable. And then the committee chair can choose whether or not to introduce it in the committee level. So
Okay.
they have big, think of a judge, a lot of docket, lots of laws to look
Okay.
at. And they have the control and the choice of what is discussed in those committee meetings. And so they'll look at, wear pink on.
And the chairs, whichever party's in control.
Yes.
Right? Whoever has the majority.
Yes. Which is huge. And it's funny, I didn't even know that going in. It's like,
Okay.
so when we were in the minority, it's like, you mean I don't have a say-so in any
I can't
committee?
get a damn thing done. I know.
They won't even listen to my voice. They won't
Yeah.
even read my bill.
It's
They won't
wild.
even answer my questions. I mean, I was mortified that
Yeah.
I worked that hard to get there, to
Yeah.
just sit there. Anyway, it's
There's
all about
very
doing
real
stuff.
reasons why party control is such an effort.
Yes.
Yeah.
People don't realize that.
Yeah.
So, so then the bill goes and they read it at the committee. It gets voted out. It has to be voted yes. If it's voted no, it dies. If it votes yes, it goes to the floor.
It is it also the chair is the majority, but then let's say there's 9 people.
Yes.
There'd be 5 that are the majority and 4 that are the minority.
Yes.
So not only do they get to decide, but then they also have the majority vote. Right?
Correct.
Okay.
So you can see it's swayed.
Yeah.
And so, like you said, the parties, the parties don't matter. It doesn't make any difference. That you guys should all get along. It's like, it's not set up
can
like
get
that.
along.
You can get along,
But you still want to win. You still want to have control. But people do get along.
they do get
but at
along.
the end of the day, you're trying to move an agenda, and you only get to really move it if you're in the majority.
Correct. So we were in the minority my first term. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
on my, so as a state representative, it's a 2-year term, and you can be there for a total of 12 years.
Okay.
And you can be
2 years doesn't seem that long.
No, because it
That's
takes
a lot of running.
Yes. Physically.
Yeah.
Physically and mentally. So yeah,
Yeah.
you get in, it takes a year to get in.
Right.
And then you get there, you get a year's worth of work that you
Right.
can try to do, and then next year you're out running again. So so I'm on my second term, and the first term we were in the minority in the House. And like you said, all the committees, who is on the committee, the majority of the committee were run by, I'm a Republican, they were Democrats.
Right.
And I was a vice chair committee for transportation budget. So
Okay.
I'm still on the transportation budget, but now I'm the chair of the transportation budget. So it's like well, it's always good to be in. What are they? It's always nice to hold the gavel.
Yeah, there you go.
So I get to hold the gavel for the chair of the, so I'm in the appropriations, which is the budget.
Okay.
So you have these subcommittees for the budget. So you have higher education, which is college, and then you have K through 12, which is, education, budget, DNR, budget, Michigan State Police, budget, transportation, which is the roads, budget. These are all subcommittees for the appropriations, and you do basically your budget for your committee, and then you vote them out of committee, and then they go to the higher appropriations. And so everybody that's on these subcommittees are on the full appropriations, and then they vote basically your budget out of appropriations, and then it goes to the floor, and the budget is actually a bill.
Okay.
So it's a piece of legislation, but it just has a bunch of numbers in it, and it goes to the floor, and they vote on it, and that's our leg of the stool. So it's you have the executive branch, which is the governor, the Senate, and the House.
Okay.
And it's a three-legged stool, and they all have to agree on the exact language of the budget or a bill to be able to be signed to come into law.
Okay.
Yeah.
So last year there was about 74 bills passed, somewhere around there.
Mm-hmm.
And there can be hundreds. I think historically there's hundreds.
Yes.
Is that good, bad? Does that mean anything to not have a lot of bills passed? Or I know it's historically unbelievably low.
Yeah, I'm for the mantra of less government, not more government. And so I vacillate between, is it a good or a bad thing?
And it was tough because it's not a majority across all three, right? So House is Republican, was Senate was Democrat, and governor's Democrat.
Correct.
And in that situation, you're going to generally find fewer bills passed.
Correct.
Because not everybody agrees. But
and the things that everybody should agree on should just pass easily.
Right.
I'll give you an example. They had if you were a doctor and you were licensed in Indiana but you were practicing in Michigan, that we would be reciprocating of your license in Indiana while you were practicing in Michigan. And it was a time in which that reciprocation expired. Well, we were going to renew it because there's thousands of doctors that have licenses all over the country that are practicing in Michigan. So that bill was put forth months ago, actually last year.
okay.
And it's due to expire this year. I think it was last month that it was due to expire. The sunset on that to renew that reciprocation.
Okay.
And because of the person that was offering the bill was a Republican in a very volatile seat, they didn't want to pass her bill because they don't want to give her the credit.
Okay.
So to me, that's where something like that should be. It's like signing. It's like signing the paychecks.
Yeah.
Ryan has worked. He
Yep.
gets a paycheck,
Right.
and you sign it on Friday and you give
Right.
it to him. That should not even be a question.
Right.
And it's the same thing with some of these bills. Everybody should sign them. But to get that bill across the finish line, and it's like a comet. This is the bill coming forward, and all these things like are magnets that get attached to it on the way through, which are not necessarily to the benefit of people in Michigan.
And that's where like other people co-sponsor and sign on because they wanted to add something to it.
Or they won't pass that bill unless you pass my bill, which
Got it.
I want to have this pork, or I want this agenda, or I want
Okay.
this to pass. I'll pass your bill if you pass my bill. That doesn't necessarily benefit everybody.
Okay.
But I'm not going to give you. It's like
Right,
a bunch
okay.
of kids.
Yeah.
Well, if I give you a piece of candy, what are you going to give
Yeah.
me? That's
Yeah.
how it. Unfortunately, that's how it goes.
Yeah. Okay.
So, anyway, so the Senate is 200,000 people, and there's 38 senators, state senators, and the job is relatively the same. It's just in a different chamber, and you have more autonomy.
Okay.
Here, they call it like the House of Representatives with 110 people. It's like a football game, right? But the Senate is more like a tennis game.
Okay.
So it's a little less people, a little
They
bit
have-
more polite.
They have bigger offices, more staff usually.
More
is it?
staff because you
Okay.
have a bigger district to be able to
Okay.
try to, and the hard part of the job is kind of like all trying to get these bills passed and fighting the politics. But the easy and rewarding part of the job is that you have a staff. So if you have an issue with your, I don't know, you're a doctor, right? That I just gave you as a doctor role, and you're having a hard time getting your license renewed, and there's something snag, or Ryan can't get his driver's license plate tab for some reason, and you can call your state representative, and we have a back door,
Okay.
and we can try to help you resolve your issue. Because usually by the time somebody calls us, they're like,
They can't take it anymore.
yeah,
Hit a wall. And,
yeah.
yeah.
And so we're able to help you, and the people are like, "Oh my gosh, thank you! Thank you. I've been on the phone for hours. Unemployment was a huge issue,
Yeah.
and we, especially during COVID,
Yeah.
were able to help that out a lot.
Yeah. And that's something I think people don't think about, to contact their representative and get help. I was talking to a lady that they were the trustees on a trust for their neighbor, and the neighbor passed away and had an organized estate, but there was one bank account that still had the name of the old trust. She amended her trust and didn't update the amendment, or didn't update it like that. One bank with a small amount of money in it, like 10 grand-ish something. And the bank is refusing to distribute the money. Everybody knows who originated it. Everybody knows whose money it is. Everybody knows exactly what happened. The attorneys are fighting over it, and the bank is refusing to release it. And the attorney told this person, we're just going to have to wait until it goes into unclaimed property. They're like, that's their resolution. I'm like, no, that's not. Don't accept that. Like, reach out. This is like, reach out. This is, you hit a wall, find some help.
Right.
Because that everybody knows that is not right.
Right.
Like, everybody knows.
Right.
There's no shenanigans going on their part. You know what I mean? Everybody knows what's happening. And I think people, they've been dealing with that for a long time. I just found out about it. But people deal with things. They're like, oh, they give up. Nothing I can do. And sometimes you guys can help.
Well, and something like that, there's almost every group of like financial analysts or realtors or bankers, they have an association, bankers association, and the bankers association, usually has a lobbyist, and we know the lobbyist,
Right.
and it's, although you love them and you hate them, the lobbyists and the associations, and that in a situation like that, that's when you love them. It's like, hey, Bob, we've got this issue with this trust. This banker's giving us a hard time. Can you help me or give me some way out around it?
Yep.
And they can connect you with the right person to be able to. So it's not only just like your license plate or your license,
Right.
which is at the state level, if
Yeah.
the bank's, this one particular bank's giving them a hard time, we might be able to be able to help you out in that regard too. So, like, I had trouble with, I know you're going to be surprised, Comcast.
Oh, yeah?
And so I was able to ask the person that represents, can you help me forge through this?
Yep.
So they at least give you a phone number.
Yep.
So
Good. And the importance of your constituency. So a lot of times people talk to any random House representative, maybe, or senator, but how vital is it to go to the people that work for you within your district?
what usually happens is they say, James, thanks for calling. However, Donnie Steele is your state representative,
Right.
and here's her number and her email, and I'll let her know that you've reached out, and then they will pass it back. Because most often, sometimes it might be an issue that's locally, and I'll have a better handle on it than the neighboring state rep. So yeah, or and not only your state reps, your representatives, but your Senate person as well too.
Right.
So. Yeah.
Yeah. I know they like to represent the people that are in their district.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've even had, or even in DC, when I've gone out there to meet with people for financial services industry or something, and let's say there'll be a group of like 4 of us that are going to go talk to some senators or house or reps, and they'll say, okay, who's from my district, and then they'll make eye contact with that one person the entire discussion, and that's it.
That's their voter.
Which is cool. I like it. That's
so that's
the way
why.
it should
So
be.
when you go out there with 4 people, you got to make sure that each one of you have a different representative,
Yeah.
and then you hit all 4 of them, and then you have 4 ears working on an issue, which
Yeah.
really, it's it's hard to be the squeaky wheel, but it is effective.
Yeah. I was talking to John DeMoose, and we were talking about this. And he lives in a really big travel destination, vacation spot. And so he works for the people that actually live there, not the people that are going to spend a weekend there. And he made that point pretty clear too, which is interesting. A tourist could see something that they want to change,
Correct.
but do the people that live there want that change to happen?
Yeah, and that whole Airbnb.
Yeah.
That's a huge issue for the people that live there.
Right.
Don't necessarily want to be inundated by vacation homes.
Right.
But Airbnb sees that as a great opportunity,
Goldmine,
and
yeah.
all the weekend visitors
Yeah.
see it as a way to pay
Wonderful
their
place to
taxes.
go, yeah.
Yeah.
So what did you do what do you do in the transportation?
Right now we're in budget season, and so our fiscal year is October 1st through September 30th. And the goal is to try to get the budget passed, the whole budget, by the summertime, so then the schools know where their budget is, so when they start school, because their fiscal year is July 1st through June 30th. So they want to see what the budget's going to be in the summertime, so they can do their budgets in July, so they can be ready for school in September. But which is always a friction.
Okay.
Hurry up and get your budget passed. It's like, well, we don't necessarily have to do it until October 1st. But then every school, there's
Scrambling.
and there's hundreds of school boards that are ringing the phone off the hook. Oh,
Yeah.
wait, where's the budget? What's
Yeah.
going on? So so the transportation is the roads. So our budget, when I first got on board, was about $6 billion
Okay.
for the roads, and we were able to increase it to a little bit over $8 billion as of last year. So we were
Okay.
able to increase the budget. So the roads include the roads, the way that they're funded is so, it's like a ball of yarn. It's so confusing and convoluted. But you have the state trunk lines, which are
MDOT.
MDOT,
Okay.
and they take care of I-75, 696, 96, 94, all those big roads. But your road commissions, there's 82 road commissions
Okay.
in the state of Michigan. They take care of 18 mile and 17 mile and the road commissions. And then you have your cities and villages. Well, you're in a city of Bloomfield Hills. They take care of, the subdivision roads, or trying to think of one of these side roads that you go eastways, or one of these smaller roads. And so but they overlap each other. Like
Okay.
Woodward is a perfect example. You know, it's like, okay, Woodward's is a M road, so that's a MDOT road. However, it crosses over Square Lake and all these other roads that take into consideration the counties. So when you do a project, you have to intertwine all of these different agencies with different pots of money and different infrastructure issues that you have to do a road project. So, and then
And all that is within the $8 billion.
yeah.
So it's getting divvied up to MDOT and the road commissions and okay.
Yeah. So there's one MDOT, 82 road commissions, and 513 cities and villages.
Damn. Yeah.
And yeah,
And how does it get decided? Like which cities get how much money? It's the miles of road that they have.
Part of it.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's funny because I have a graph that's this big, and it's called Public Act 51. And it's like, the marble games, all the marbles go here at the top, and then they filter out through
Okay.
the bottom buckets. But people don't realize that not only do you have the roads, but you also have operating for buses and infrastructure for buses and railroads and ports and airports and Amtrak.
Railroads are part of that, and the
Yeah,
airports. Wow.
isn't I know, right?
Wow.
Everybody gets their little piece, but most
Well,
of
it's
the
transportation. Yeah,
it's
I guess.
transportation.
Okay. All right.
And so I try to say, thinking of you.
So bicycles are
yes,
part of it?
That's what I said. We need more public transportation called railroad tracks that are converted to
We need one of those
bike
marbles
tracks.
to go. Yeah.
That's right. That was what I said. And
Yeah.
and what goes in the top of the marbles is tax dollars, and the tax dollars are derived mostly from the gas tax. It's 60 cents on the gallon of gas.
Okay.
Goes to the top of the bucket, and your license plate tab. You're like, geez, is that expensive just to put that little sticker on the back of your car? And it's based on how much that sticker is based on the value of your car. So if you have, I don't know, like an old, 20-year-old Prius,
Yeah.
it's not going to be as expensive as, an Escalade. So,
Right.
so that money, most of that goes in, well, actually all of it goes into the roads as well, too. Plus we get federal money, a couple $1 billion from the federal government to go into our roads. But
Gas tax.
yeah, because our gas tax, like 14 cents is federal tax, 60 cents is state tax.
Ooh, okay.
And then the federal money goes to the federal government, and then they give it back to us.
They got marbles.
They got
Yeah.
they got marbles.
Yeah. And then what do you collect on EVs? Or has that not
Yes,
been figured out yet, or?
yeah. Well, they do. When you pay for your sticker, you pay a larger portion for EVs.
Do you think it makes up the difference?
It's close. It's not quite there. It's close.
Okay.
So they want to do a study to do a fee of per mile that you drive versus what kind of car that you drive.
Okay.
So that's down the road.
So you guys are looking at the money. Are you looking at the road, like any kind of standards, construction standards, or what to do with each people's little bucket of money, or that's on them? So in other words, MDOT gets money, and then MDOT decides what are we going to do with it.
Correct. Yes.
You're deciding where it goes.
Yes, and where it goes is dictated by that formula, and it's what they call statutory. So it's like Public Act 51 is a statutory public act, and that's where the money goes, and that's how the money's filled, and then how it's filtered out. Public transportation gets a portion right off the top, and what is included in public transportation. So buses is one, NODA, WODA, which are those smaller buses that are more rural buses, versus SMART, which is, the big buses, which are, this area, but that's public transportation. Amtrak, that's public transportation. The railroads, I said that already. Ferries. I mean, we have ferries.
Yeah, right.
It's like we pay for ferries too.
Yeah.
We pay. It's like, yeah, there's people that need money
Yeah.
to fix ferry boats. That
Harson's Island, Drummond Island, Mackinac Island.
Sugar Island. I was like,
I
we
don't
have.
know if that one that goes to Milwaukee, is that part of it or not?
It's funny you asked that. There was money that was allocated to fix the Badger.
Yeah, the Badger.
The Badger,
right. Yeah,
and the Badger needed to be more ecologically friendly, and so they were trying to make it from a diesel to I think natural gas, and
Okay.
it didn't come from our budget, but it came to a one-time expense. We need to fix the Badger, so
Okay.
yeah, money went to that as well too.
So do you guys have oversight within your committee?
Yes.
So if somebody isn't spending the money appropriately, or I don't know, is it
Constantly you're inviting people to explain, okay, how does the bus money go to which bus? Well, how
Okay.
do we determine how much SMART gets over those smaller buses? How did the Q line get publicly funded? That was supposed to be an independent, funded, but that got thrown into the public busing as
Right.
well too. So yes, we do ask, why is Amtrak not buying new equipment with the money that they get? I mean, so yes, we do. However, you have oversight, and the only way that you really have a way of saying, okay, you're not doing what you're supposed to be, is to retract the funding.
okay? One of my little things I pay too much attention to with biking is rumble strips and shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
And they can be a great tool, but if the shoulder is too narrow and you put a rumble strip down the middle of the shoulder, then you've now removed the shoulder as a bike possibility. So now the biker's going to bike, so now the biker's in the road lane versus, at least they had that before. And the ASHTO guide, ASHTO?
Yes.
Okay, the ASHTO guidelines, and even in the MDOT manual, everybody says the same thing. If it's less than 4 feet, then strongly consider not putting a rumble strip in there at all. And then ASHTO's guidelines are, if it's less than 4 feet and you have to put it in, consider putting it on the outside edge of the shoulder, not right by the fog line, so that at least then the biker just is avoiding that rumble strip over there, but at least then they have this
I
much
see.
shoulder
Okay.
versus a hazard, which is the end of the shoulder, gravel, dirt, rocks, whatever. This much shoulder, a mumble strip, a road. That's too dangerous. So they ride in the road. So, anyways, this is, they're constantly putting them in, trying them out, putting them, eliminating shoulders, doing it right sometimes, whatever. But what I hear oftentimes is there wasn't enough money in the budget to make the shoulder a foot wider. And so now you're just stuck with this mumble strip down the middle of the shoulder. And this is my naive self. I would think, well, then instead of paving 15 miles, only pave 12. Make the budget accommodate the use of the road for all legal users of the road. Where would that get addressed anywhere in the process?
MDOT directly.
MDOT?
Because you're probably talking most of the roads. Are you talking like highways? Is it?
Well, those would be on rural highways.
Yeah, that would be mostly be MDOT. So I'm just going to ask. So you have the lane,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have the white line,
Yep.
and then you have a space,
The shoulder, right?
and then you have the rumble strip.
Well, right now you have the lane, the white line,
Uh-huh.
the rumble strip, the shoulder.
Okay.
And if the shoulder was this wide, no problem.
Right.
If the shoulder was that wide, well, now you've just taken half of
I
it
see,
off.
with the rumble strip.
And if you're riding a bike, you ever do those things like try to walk a line, walk a plank or something? And if you're looking down at this board, like you can't walk on the board, you're like falling
Right.
over, But if you look straight ahead, then you can usually kind of walk that line or whatever.
Yes.
But anyways, if you're riding a bike and you've got this rumble strip hazard on one side of your tire and then this gravel on the other side of your tire, and you've got a lane that much, you cannot ride down that thing.
Right.
You could ride within this much variance for a mile if there was no hazard on either side.
Correct.
But if there's a hazard on either side where you might die or get seriously injured if you hit it, you can't do it. Like it's,
Right.
You know what I mean? You can't stay in there and you're like off the road on the rumble strip, off the road on the rumble strip.
Well, yeah, and then usually when you off the sides of the asphalt, there's big holes.
People crash. Yeah.
Those are big. Yeah, you know. So yes, that is part of it. So, and it's funny that you said that because I just had somebody tell me a week ago that those rumble strips are deteriorating the roads because what happens is because there are grooves in the pavement and water gets trapped in them and the water traps and then it expands and it cracks and
Yep.
then you are ruining the roads before that they should be and that they shouldn't even be in the roads at all. So I actually will ask that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the executive branch of the government controls the departments. And I can ask and they can give me answers, but I have no ability to change the trajectory of how they do their business. Is a minority leg of the stool in the position that I'm in, which I see that there's in my opinion a lot of inefficiencies that are happening in the government right now. Like you know, I was a business person before I was a realtor before I got involved in all of this, and you know, you run a business and you learn how to do it more efficiently and you constantly expand on the efficiencies, and I don't see that happening at the state level in any capacity.
So to finish off the three-legged, the executive branch, then they oversee all of the Department of Education, the MDOT, and they're putting the people in place to run them and then overseeing how well they do their job.
Correct. School is a little bit different because you have a school board.
Okay.
You have a state school board.
That's fully elected?
That's
not appointed. That's fully elected.
Those are elected,
Yeah.
and then they appoint who, like the director is, and then the director is in charge of running that department per se. But
the Attorney General is fully elected.
Correct.
So is that separate then?
Yes,
Or is
they
that
well,
is separate?
yes, they should, and they should be a separate leg of
Yeah.
government because you know you have your executive branch, your legislative branch, and your judicial branch, and they should be running separately.
Right.
So you always have some catch if a citizen is not being treated properly,
Right.
so or a business or whatever. So and then this election year is actually really critical for the state of Michigan. So we have the Attorney General is term limited, and so that's up. We have the governor, which is term limited, and that's up. And then we have the Secretary of State, that's and then we have I was going to say Mike Rogers is running on the Republican side for U.S. Senate.
Okay.
That because I'm trying to think of the guy's name that's not running anymore. He's been there forever. I should know his name offhand. It'll come to me. He's actually somebody that's in our district.
Okay.
Anyways, who's our? It was Lissa Slack, and she just won last semester, last term. I feel
Okay.
like I'm back at school because
Yeah.
of all the childish things that go on. Anyways, so those positions are so important because the Secretary of State runs the Secretary of State's offices plus elections. The Attorney General makes sure that things are accountable, and then your governor runs all the departments, and your legislative branch, passes bills, but unless the governor signs them, they mean nothing.
Right.
And we're in charge of the budget as well too. So
Yeah.
it's a very important election, for my opinion, of the trajectory of how the state of Michigan is going to go for the next 8 years.
Yeah. Yeah, it can last a long time too, like you say, 8 years.
Yeah.
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 You're working on, what's the other committee?
I'm on Health and Human Services.
Yeah.
And again, I'm on the subcommittee for
Okay.
the appropriations of it. And
Does that work with mental health?
Yes,
It does. Okay.
Yeah. I'm on the public health. So we took the Health and Human Services department, and for the House of Representatives, we divided it in 3 subcommittees because it's 51% of the entire budget. Our budget's $82 billion. I mean, it's $40 billion goes into our Health and Human Services.
Wow.
So we have general fund money, where you can dictate where it goes, and then you have statutory money where it's not, it has to go to these, like the roads, the money that from the gas tax has to go into the roads. So you have those statutory, and then you have a lot of money coming from the federal government, and a lot of it is in our Health and Human Services. It's close to $10 billion that is state money, and the rest of it is coming from the federal government, Medicaid, Medicare.
Okay.
Think of that, yeah.
Are you very familiar with the type of mental health help that people can get in Michigan? What's going on in that environment?
Not as well as enough to know that I know that we are struggling and that we are trying certain fixes to help the mental wellness of the state of Michigan, and that I don't think overall that we're doing the best job with the resources that we have been given.
So to give you a story, and maybe there's an example of where something like this gets help. So I was at Easter Sunday. I was doing some home projects, so I went to Home Depot, and part of me was hoping they were closed because a lot of stores are closed. Like, it'd be good for them if they're closed, But if they were open, I was going to get my project done. So I thought I'd go for a ride, see if they're open. I stopped to get some gas, and there was a car sitting there on the other side of the bay, and a guy and a lady, and she got out of the car, and she asked me if I'd give her some money for gas, and I talked to her for a little while, and she said they're living in their car. They were living in a motorhome, and I don't know what happened. They got kicked out, lost it. Maybe they're renting. I don't know if they owned it. I have no idea. And I don't know. I talked to her for a little while. She's probably in her 30s. It's hard to tell. She's going through some rough life. You can see that in her face. And I gave her some money. She was very excited. She told her boyfriend, ran in, prepaid for some gas. He turned the car around. She started pumping it up. Really nice lady. Living in their home, they had living in the car. They had a dog in the car. And I'm wondering as I'm, engaging with this young person. Well, she's probably in her 30s. I don't know how old she was, but what do we have for people that are going through something like that? Are you aware of what programs?
There are.
And does she have any money? Like, there's a welfare, right?
Yes, there's Medicaid. That's health care, and if you're poverty impoverished, you can have Medicaid. If you have kids, there's WIC, there's welfare, like ETS, like how you can go get food, like the old, what you call food stamps. Now they're EBT cards. They're a card. They're like a credit card. There's public assistance, like dollars, just to like, you can be granted dollars that can pay for things that are not food and they're not health, but you need money for, I don't know, gas or, to pay your electric bill. I think there is a plethora of available services for people that are in need, including mental health care. I think the issue is people seeking those resources. And when you are worried about $5 for gasoline, you're not thinking, I need to get on the website and start applying for all these different programs to see which comes in. You know what I mean?
Is there an office they walk into?
There are offices that they can walk into. There's county offices. There's you have actually every county has some kind of help services for aging, for community services, to mental health, public health, in addition to the state, in addition to the federal government.
Okay.
I don't necessarily know that people know how to plug into those programs. That's what I think
bet
is
they
the
don't.
issue. It's like
Yeah.
if she's begging,
Especially
you,
if there's layers of them, it's
Yes.
complicated.
if you're and if
And
she's
it's not bad. That means there's more possibilities, but it's complicated.
it's more complicated than it should be.
Yeah.
It's almost like if you could go to like one person and say, I am struggling in blah 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 blah. I have no gas, I have no home, I have no
Right.
I have no food, I have no dog food. And this one person be like an ombudsman and
Right.
say, okay, we're going to apply for blah 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 because I
Right.
know that you need this, I know that you need this. But if you're that person, you don't know all of these programs that are available.
Right.
And actually, I mean, and then there's all these nonprofits. I mean, you have churches, and then you have Salvation Army, and then you have the Red Cross, and you have the food bank, and I mean, there's there's all these nonprofits that you could plug into, but somebody is not going to know what services do what for them and where are they.
Right.
That's what I think the issue is.
Yeah.
The connection.
This is this hasn't changed much. You've probably seen this is a Michigan poverty by county. If you've seen a map of Michigan and the poverty levels, I mean, this has been these same counties have had issues for as far back as I've ever looked at one of these maps. You know, and the you can see the averages that were 13.4%.
Oh, and we're below the national poverty
below
rate.
the national average, and we're in the bottom 13% in the nation, like Michigan is.
I know.
Um,
Our per capita income is like 44th in the United States as well too.
Clare is at 20% at the poverty level. So even in like your area is one of the better ones. 9 to 12% below average.
Crazy, right?
Yeah. And that's one of the better ones. That's good, I guess.
You know, and I think that people think that, as I've seen as a legislator, you know, like everybody says, oh, it's the urban areas that are the impoverished and, you know, the cities.
They're
Yeah,
everywhere.
They're everywhere.
I know.
And you've got those rural areas
Yeah.
where they don't have, and they're not, and they have additional issues. You know, like they don't have the public transportation available. They don't have as
Right.
many job opportunities. They don't have hospitals.
Yeah. I think there's two parts to this where making sure that people can get the care they need, but also making sure that 10 years from now, this map doesn't look like that.
Agreed.
That's the thing that hasn't changed
Agreed.
in so long. And it shouldn't look like that.
Agreed. Where we have the opportunities and we have all the bones and what we're producing is not indicative of each other.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you think about U of M, one of the best colleges in the whole United States, right?
Right.
Michigan State. I mean, some of the best colleges. You know, think about like our manufacturing, and it was the best. The engineering programs that we had in the state of Michigan were the best in the whole United States. Our outcomes should be indicative of that.
Yeah.
And we're all the lakes and the opportunity for tourism and the water and iron ore and all these things that we have. Why isn't that better?
Yeah. So when you're the senator, what is the district compared to the size of it now as a House rep?
So right now, the state rep is about 90,000 and the state senate is about 200,000
Okay.
people. And so the district goes north. So I live in Orion Township, so it's like Orion, Oxford, Addison, Brandon, Springfield, Waterford, goes into South Lapeer County, Hadley, Metamora, Dryden. Atlas Township goes right
Okay.
into Genesee as well.
That's some
too.
beautiful places.
I know, isn't that great?
Yeah.
And when I sold real estate, that was the area.
Metamora is like this
I know,
dreamland.
Mm-hmm.
Rolling hills, hardwoods, horse farms.
And and the people are just easygoing. And I wonder if it has to be with they have the space and it's calmer.
They're probably pretty happy that their real estate's so much value now too. If they live there for a while, I'd be
Right.
pretty happy too.
Yeah, it's all that horse country. I
Yeah.
mean, it's
It's like
there's
$10,000 an acre out there.
yeah, yeah.
It's pretty.
It's pretty and it's nice, and I'm glad to. And I was, I mean, I grew up in that area, so I'm glad to. It's just it's more rural. So when I grew up in Lake Orion used to be more rural. And
Yeah.
now Lake Orion looks,
Yeah.
it's suburban sprawl.
Yeah.
I mean, our suburbs keep getting bigger, our urban areas keep getting smaller, and so it keeps going. It keeps spreading out.
Yeah, the Detroit population, is it growing yet or not? I don't know. I haven't been studying that.
Well, I think they're about 600,000, and they were over 1 million in the heyday.
1,200,000 or something like that.
In the 50s, I think it was.
Yeah.
And so that's a lot. And
But
so,
over the last decade, I think it's improving. I don't know. I should look it up.
well, no,
Maybe
I think
you can check it, Ryan.
I think Dugan said that it increased, and they get money, statewide for how many people that they
Right.
have, and so it makes a difference.
Yeah.
That they have their numbers higher because they get net profit sharing, revenue sharing.
Right.
And it makes a big difference. So the last 2 years, I think he fought it to make sure that the numbers showed that it did go up and
Yeah.
that he was able to get more of the funding that they could
Yeah.
put back into the city. But
That's a crazy city. I think it's like 12 miles wide or something. Like you could put Manhattan, Chicago, like some of the biggest cities, you could put it within the city of Detroit.
I didn't realize that.
Ooh, yeah. The landmass of Detroit is insane compared to other cities around the nation. And they have to police, fire department, rescue, lights. Like they've got to service this entire phenomenally huge area.
I've got some numbers. This is Google search, but I'm seeing it looks like 2023 is the first year that it had
Population
positive
growth?
Population growth by 0.3%.
0.3.
Whoa.
And it looks like it's currently at about high 600,000s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So it did go up a little bit.
Good.
But what happens is that, you think about Detroit, and that when you have the suburban sprawl, that you're still utilizing water that is coming from Detroit. And so now you're building water lines, from Detroit all the way to Oxford and out that way. And then now you're maintaining those systems, that infrastructure. I mean, it's hard on.
Does it come from there because they take it from the river?
They do take it from the river.
Is that why it comes from there?
It's one source. Well, I think that was where the main population was,
Okay.
and then the river, and I think there's another source other than the river that they take the water from, and they, of course, clean it and put a little bit of chemicals in it.
Yeah.
Send it back.
Yeah.
But it's anyway. So every time we need to be paying attention to, as a statewide, of our infrastructure for our water and our septic. I mean, that is the life source of the state of Michigan.
Yeah. Yep. You
Yep.
see that once in a while with the bad pipes and things like that's a system that can get in disrepair when it's existed for decades and decades and decades.
It's expensive.
Yeah.
And I know in the village of Orion, which is older than our township,
Yeah.
you have what you call pump ups, because the gravity doesn't flow exactly for the sewage to go down. So you have to pump it up to send
Yeah.
it down. And those pump up stations are 200,000.
Wow.
And if you don't fix them, I mean, then you're polluting waterways, which is terrible.
So what's been some rewarding experiences you've had in the House?
Rewarding experience. You know what? I have to say that extra funding on the roads,
Okay.
because I had said we could put more money into our roads. We could put more money into our roads, and last year we were able to bump up those dollar amounts $2 billion.
How'd that happen?
It was a shift of the sales tax. So like
Okay.
so if you are a big tanker of Marathon and you're going to go fill up your gas tank and then go fill all the different gas stations, you would pay sales tax when you fill up your tanker, and then you would charge the sales tax to the gas stations, and that sales tax would go in the top of the bucket, not for our roads, like the marble ones I was showing, but the whole state budget, and it would go into state police and attorney general and all those other different departments, and not go directly into the roads. So we took and we said, okay, all that sales tax now has to be given to the roads. So
Okay.
that was like $1 billion of sales tax
All
that was
right.
redirected into it without shifting the expense onto the user.
Okay.
So it was a tax shift, which I think that we could do better budgeting without raising taxes and give better services. And so I
See
was
where
glad.
it's not needed, where it is needed.
Yeah. And so that was a perfect example of just shifting the dollars. We were able to put more money into the road. So I would
Okay.
have to say that was a definite win. And
It's a heck of a lot more money to work with.
I mean, when you get those marbles,
Yeah.
right, you got to make sure that they
Yeah.
filter down. And some of them,
Was that a challenge, having that much more money all of a sudden, figuring out where to put it?
yes. Yeah. Because everybody wants to make sure that they get their piece of the pie.
Yeah.
I explained earlier how we have all those counties and villages and cities,
Yep.
and MDOT vying from the same pool. They got to make sure that it's divvied up appropriately.
And when did that take effect, the new money?
It should take effect in the budget last year. So
Okay.
starting October.
Okay.
So October
So
1st.
road construction 2026.
Provided that they had yes, it would it
So you
should
could start to see it
Yes.
being implemented.
immediately.
All right,
yeah,
cool.
Yeah. And then one thing that they did do is they did take some of the marijuana the wholesale tax.
Okay.
And I didn't think that they needed to do that because they were able to come up with the funding without having to raise a tax. But that was one of the funds where they did raise the tax was marijuana wholesale tax.
Are you familiar with what we take in as a state from marijuana?
It's I don't have the numbers offhand, but it's in the hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it is a lot. But again, is it a great idea? I don't know.
I don't know. I got a little mixed on that
I
one.
know.
I feel like in the beginning it was all the advertisements about it's going to save everybody's life, medical marijuana and everything, and then I haven't seen it in a single ad. And I've heard some good stories medically that it's been helpful in some cases, but like all that went away as soon as it passed. I'm like, okay, I feel like I got a little hoodwinked on that one.
And then, one more sign that says, go get your best buds here on,
Yeah.
going from here to
Yeah.
hundreds of the signs.
Yeah.
So
in a way, I mean, I don't mind it, but what I don't like to see is that, gambling, I call stupid tax. And a lot of times people that gamble, maybe, their life isn't better off because of it. And I don't like to see some people with the pot get into a life that their life isn't better off because of it. I hate to
Correct.
see people get worse off, and then they're funding these other things, but their life isn't better off because of it.
No, I don't. I
Yeah.
don't think that
That's
the
the part
state.
is
No, if you
I
were to
don't wanna
say,
see.
is the state of Michigan better off for passing legalizing recreational marijuana? I would say no. I don't
Yeah.
think that we're better off. I mean,
You
have
got money here, you got somebody not having a good life over there. It's
and the user
the
rate
unintended
consequences.
things that happen.
Yes, the user rate for young kids, because they have it around more,
Yeah.
are trying it at a younger age, and I don't think that we needed to do that.
Yeah, and it's powerful.
Mm-hmm.
That's what frustrated me the most, and it wasn't. I didn't think enforced. I don't know why. I don't know if it is more enforced now or not, but it's so easy for somebody to go to one of those dispensaries and get a bunch of stuff and these tiny little things and pass it around in the schools, and it's just too easy.
Too easy.
Yeah.
And or even if it's at home because it's legal, and then all of a
Yeah.
sudden it's legal, and so instead of saying, "Oh gosh, I shouldn't do that because that's illegal," it's like,
Yeah.
"Well, it's legal. My parents do. It's no big
Yeah.
deal." So that, and then the other thing is like towns like New Buffalo that are on the border of Indiana. I mean, because Indiana doesn't have it legalized. So like what is National Marijuana Day, what is it, 3/14 or one of those days,
Okay.
4/11 or whatever that is, and that they are completely inundated, like it's party town.
Okay.
People from Indiana coming in, and all of a sudden these small towns are like, oh, we didn't think it was going to be like this.
Yeah.
Here's our little small town with 10 dispensaries, and we're inundated as it become a party town, and that's
Right.
not what they had hoped
Yeah.
for. And
I think in Monroe there's a street called the Miracle Mile or something like that. I've heard, and people come up from Ohio because they can get it really cheap there.
yeah, right. I'm sure that
But
they did.
people used to go to Ohio to buy fireworks. Remember that?
Yeah.
And now we can have them here in the state. But,
So-
but as soon as you cross the Michigan border, you see all these fireworks signs. Get your firecrackers.
Yeah, and I suppose the dogs didn't like it, but I think the kids are more important than fireworks. They don't seem as dangerous as the
I don't mind those things at all.
No, and then I think that the other thing is the police. They have no way of necessarily detecting if you're marijuana, if you're taking gummies or something,
Yeah.
and your senses about you are not making you a good driver.
Yeah.
So, in the long term, the little couple dollars that we get on the front end, are we going to be paying for it on the back end?
Yeah.
I would say probably yes.
And hopefully the destructive use of it, people learn. We get all of a sudden something you didn't have before, and it gets abused a bit. It gets used too young. It gets used too much. It gets used whatever. But then maybe we can mature out of that and it becomes more normal.
That's such a good. Thanks, James. I need more positive in my
Yeah.
thought process. Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah.
So, but
Yeah.
some of it did go directly to the road, so I do
Yeah.
have to say that. So,
what brought about the desire to move into the Senate?
I think that it's the autonomy. So I was told that, like, I feel like all the years of my experience, I feel like I have earned a seat at the table, and that as a senator, there's only you're one of 38 for the whole state. You are more autonomous. You're more. You're at a conference table.
You know them all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're at a conference table discussing issues, not having like the central staff dictating what the games are going, not the games, but the plays for the
Yep.
games are going to be.
Okay.
And I think that what happens is that, when you have 110, you're trying to move them all in the same direction. You need that continuity of a strong central staff, but I feel like I want to be able to contribute more individually.
Okay. And what's it look like? Are there other Republicans also running? Are you going to have a primary race?
I think I'm going to have a primary. They have announced, but they haven't filed. So
Okay.
April 19th is the filing deadline.
Okay.
And then there is a Democrat that has filed as well, too. I'm not really familiar with him, but the race is mostly as a primary race because it's a very conservative district. So
Okay.
it's the primary that's going to be it should be the hard challenge in August.
Yeah.
August 4th.
Yep. Primaries are interesting to me. They fall off of people's radar screen, the voters' radar screen, and I think that's such a huge mistake. Oftentimes that determines, I don't know if it's more important than the general election, but it is, I don't know, equally. But it so often determines who is going to be representing you.
Totally agree. And like, as I was knocking doors yesterday, one of the guys said, "Oh my gosh, can you do anything about a homeowners association? We have a militant homeowners association in here." I'm like, "No, you have to get on the board and you have to be a part of it, and then
Yeah.
you can do something about it." But that homeowners association probably affects that man's life more than anything else. So people always pay attention to these big, huge, like the president's race. But really, like what you said, those local races, primary elections have more wherewithal on how they affect your everyday life than what goes down in. It's everybody thinks that it's the federal government, but it is really your neighborhood, your school boards, who's running your town. Do you like who's running your town or how they're running your town? If you don't, that's where you go to the grocery store every day.
Right.
That's where you live, probably in a 5-mile radius.
We
That
obsess about the things that we have the least amount of control over. You know,
absolutely.
people get freak out about the whatever's running in the White House, and talk about it all day long, and you have no influence or control over it. But here you could talk to Donnie Steele
Yeah,
right in your backyard,
I even give you my
which
cell
is
number.
dealing with you with the issues that you're dealing with on a daily basis, and may or may not even show up for the primary. I don't get it. I don't get it.
You know what? It's true. And
There's where you have control and influence is right there. Not that it's obviously voting for the president matters, but don't obsess over it after it's a done deal or whatever, and then I don't know, focus on where you can influence and have control.
and be a part of the situation too.
Yeah.
So if you want to be a part of it, you don't like how your schools are going, go run for the school board. I mean,
Right.
we need good, solid people that stick to the subject and pay attention to what's going on in those environments to have a better better schools, better everything. So better towns. So yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
And the judges are a big one too. People don't pay attention to the judges, and the judges are huge of how we run our society. Are they safe societies? Are our court systems doing good?
Prosecutors.
Those are hugely important.
How do people find out who they like?
I mean, literally, you can pretty much Google everything. And you can, I have a website on mine, and it tells all about me, where I went to school, how old I am, who my kids are, and everything. In a matter of 2 minutes, you can do your homework, and you can figure out if this is somebody you want to support. So, and then the other thing is that, it's, they call these midterm elections. Well, I went over all the empty seats. Mm-hmm. We shouldn't call them midterms. This is an election. This is a major election.
That's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Almost, that is interesting.
We should call them elections.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
And then all the other proposals that'll be on there too. I mean, there'll be millages. They have a countywide millage. I don't know if you have any local millages. We'll have some local millages. Fire, police. I mean, those are all tax-based millages that affects your tax bill. You should be voting on those.
Yep.
I'm not telling you, but I'm just the audience.
Do the judges have websites too?
They most often they do.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And we have Supreme Court justices coming up as well too. So from the top all the way down to your circuit court judges will.
And you can get a pre-ballot.
Yes. And you have 45 days ahead
Yeah.
of time, so you can go get your ballot and let it sit on your kitchen counter and do your homework.
Yeah. But you can even just look online. Every district has got what the ballot's going to be. I don't know, when does that come out?
45 days before August. So
Okay.
So
That's usually what I do. I go online, I look at what my ballot's going to be, and then I got all the names.
Yeah, right.
And then I can do the research.
Exactly. And usually if you just Google their name, you should be able to find out information. And this ballot will be so full, like I said, with all the issues, you're going to have to flip it over on the other side. There'll be issues on the back side as well, too. So
I forget the name of it right now, but I think it's like League of Michigan Women's Voters or
Yes.
League of Women's Voters. Am I saying that right?
Yes. It is. With those words, you should be able to piece it together.
But they
Women League of Voters.
I don't know who runs that thing, but they do a great job of getting little interviews or quotes from most everybody running for something.
Mm-hmm. They do.
Yeah.
And even like Oakland Times, which is a news link, it's only e-news.
Yeah.
That they do a lot of the interviews, and you can they'll interview like this.
Yeah.
And for 15 minutes. So why are you running, Donnie?
Yeah.
And I think that those are very informative as well too.
Okay.
You can get a really good feel of how people are in a 10-minute interview.
You know that the Women's League one, whatever the name is, we should look that up. Can you see it? we get that name right. The one thing I look for right away is, did this person write this response, or did they just copy and paste off of their website or something? You can tell right away, because I ask a question and then the response either directly answers that question or is generic. And if they don't answer it, I don't know. It loses knocks off of my checklist.
I agree. And, when you ask me specific questions about like the committees and who's in charge and all that stuff, so the candidate that is supposedly going to be running against me in the primary doesn't have that innate knowledge about how the actual system works.
Right.
And that's a disadvantage for them because, going in, you have to figure out how the machine works, right?
Right.
So as a senator, because I have my 4 years experience and then I have local government experience as well too, I'm able to see the whole spectrum of how to plug it into the Senate race. But some of those questions that you asked, if you were to ask my opponent, they wouldn't even be able to answer them because they're on the outside looking in and there would be canned answers. So, yeah.
Jumping in here, it is League of Women Voters of Michigan, LWV for short.
Yeah, you're right. I had the words. League of Women's Voter Michigan.
Of
Michigan, yeah. And they usually even put a paper together too.
Yeah, they do. That's been a go-to resource for me for years and years and years.
And you always have to be very conscious of your sources too, because there's so many political bents, and we just assume because they're a nonprofit organization that they're doing the best of what they should be doing. And if you start researching some of these nonprofits, you're like, where are they getting their funding? Who's funding them?
Yeah.
And you find that some of them are actually, I'm not saying the Women's League vote,
right?
Whatever that,
right? Yeah.
But a lot of nonprofits, and we're seeing it at the federal level too, right?
Yeah.
That there's billions of dollars being wasted on these nonprofit organizations that are absolutely doing absolutely nothing.
Yep. So there's little tricks, and I'm not even going to be able to say any of them, but when I'm reading something, there's little tricks that I look for that I see quite quickly there's bias in there. And I can't even give an example right now, but I do it all the time. Anytime I read an article, there'll be a word, possibly, maybe, you know what I mean? Like possibly might show up. Like there'll be certain words that are subjective, more vague, opinionated, or whatever. And you can see them, and you see a pattern, and then I stop reading it. I'm trying to get facts.
I know. I want to read the reports.
And I don't mind somebody's opinion if they're not opinionated, like if they don't have a bias.
Right.
And somebody's opinion could be extremely valuable if they're not biased, if they're
taking
sharing
the facts
and what they think those facts might deliver.
Correct.
Right.
But I want an engineer that is going to give me his opinion if that building's going to hold.
Right.
Versus, my opinion if I think it's going to hold.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll take an engineer's opinion of that.
Yeah.
No, I've been starting to read like for the these nonprofits, their financial reports.
Yeah.
And they're all.
Yeah.
I was like, how much money is going to salaries? How much money is going to the board?
Yeah.
How much money is actually going to the grant in which that they say that they're an organization for?
Yeah.
And you'll find that some of the grants in which that they pass out are the smallest portion of what they collect.
Yeah. What is healthy in that ratio?
You know what?
Like you got to retain some money that you're
correct
collecting. I'm always looking for like 70, 80% going to the cause. And I know that's a big number. It's a big percentage, but bottom line, I don't want to take money that I have to give somebody else money for them to sit on it. I'm trying to get my money to a charity to go to somebody that needs the help, not to develop a bank account.
Me too.
Yeah. So when you're looking at it, do you see like, are there numbers that you would say this charity at whatever percent goes to the cause?
You know what? It's like, it's funny because my husband is a Lion, Lake Orion Lions, and 100% of their money goes to the organization for the person that they're trying to help. They do leader dogs, they do glasses for people that can't.
Yeah.
Visually impaired.
Right.
They do Christmas for kids of needs. They do Christmas baskets, and everything that they get, 100% of it. I think that's extraordinary, and that's probably unusual.
Lions are good people.
Yeah. So if I use that
Yeah.
as like my
Yeah. The base.
yeah. And then let's just say I think 75% would be reasonable.
Yeah.
And that that's
Yeah.
probably how an organization would run.
The bike ride in the UP, we were talking before we started that Tour de UP, their 1,200 mile, 10-day stage around the UP. We raise money for Lions clubs for that.
Oh,
And
nice.
we raise money for UP Lions Serve Childhood Cancer. And it goes to the families with kids with cancer in the UP. And actually, while we're riding our bikes around, a lot of the families are there, showing up at the water stops at the start or the finish, and with their kids, if their kids are healthy enough to be around other people. And they are sometimes literally writing them a check, like while we're there.
See, it just brings tears to my eyes. That's what it's
Beautiful.
about. Yeah.
Then
that's
these Lions
nice.
members around the entire Upper Peninsula are gathering and helping, and it's a phenomenal group. We've raised over $400,000 in the last 4 years or something like that, $450,000 or something like that for the families with kids with cancer in the UP. UP is a beautiful place to live. It's a tough place to get specialized medical treatment. Really tough. And cancer's tough.
Oh gosh.
And then cancer in the UP is extremely tough. It's difficult. So
I mean, they have the rural hospitals, and that's a perfect example of a government initiative that Trump did do, is to give money to the rural hospitals.
Yeah.
And each state applied for that rural hospital money, and the state of Michigan applied for it. They didn't probably get as much as they could, but it was the Department of Health and Human Services that applied for it. And how they want to spend it, I mean, they literally could give it to just here's federal money, here rural hospital, here's money, you dictate how you want it spent, you running your hospitals, you know how. But they're going to set up a administration, and they're going to, so we do it at the state all the time.
Yeah.
It's like here, like what you just described, we could give money right to those rural hospitals to help those kids directly.
Yeah.
And instead they're going to filter it and siphon it and dole it out and how they feel.
Wow.
And even claim some of the hospitals in Wayne County are rural hospitals.
Oh,
It's-
what?
Yeah.
Wow.
So listening to those testimonies in appropriations, I was
Yeah.
like,
You got to hear some pretty weird requests sometimes.
I was like, okay, why can't we? You mean you could send that money right to the rural hospitals? Well,
Yeah.
yes, but we are going to choose to do it this way. And it's
Yeah.
like, anyways,
Yeah.
that's an example of government
Yeah.
waste.
Yeah.
So,
I imagine you got pretty good at hearing what people are saying. You have to hear a lot of testimony, I'm sure. See through the BS.
oh yeah. So what do you do? And like, how many people were? I mean, you start to ask questions that are like, how much money do you get paid? How long have you done it? How many departments do you have working under you? I mean,
Yeah.
and then you could hear the numbers, and it's
Yeah.
like, like my marbles. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, you got this much money,
Yeah.
$6 go to the people that it's supposed to be servicing. I mean,
Yeah.
it's really unfortunate.
Yeah.
So I tried to stay positive to say we need to change this dynamic.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're doing what you're doing. I'm glad
Yeah.
you're running for Senate,
Thank
too.
you. Yeah, I should call it water. How many leaks are in the pipes before it gets down to the
Yeah.
end user at the faucet?
Yeah.
So, yeah. Well, that's my goal, is to change that dynamic.
Is there, I asked Tom Leonard a question about what metric would measure success as governor. He said population growth. Do you have a metric being a senator? Is there something that simple as a metric that you'd say, I did my time as a senator and this would be an indication that there was success here?
I like the population growth because every other state is growing, especially, Come on. Ohio's doing
Yeah,
better
I
than us.
know.
Indiana's doing better than us.
Wow.
I mean that to me is like a punch in the nose.
Yeah.
Ohio.
Yeah.
Anyways, per capita income, your chart right here.
Yeah.
I mean, the per capita of how much money that our people are earning and that we're at the bottom of the bucket.
Yeah.
That to me says huge. Our kids leaving the state. So it's not only population growth, but how many of the college graduates or high school graduates are we keeping in the state of Michigan to be our tradespeople, to be our doctors and our lawyers and all of the other things
Yeah.
that we need. So the governor keeps on talking about creating jobs. We need to create people
Yeah.
for those jobs. Every industry is suffering because we don't have enough doctors, we don't have enough nurses, we don't have enough teachers, we don't have enough firemen, we don't have enough policemen. So filling those vacancies is,
In trades. God, I
Yes.
love trades.
I know it. And they're
Those are
getting-
my best classes in high school back in the late 80s up in the UP. They gave my mind an ability to understand how something can be repaired in work mechanically. It's extremely important information. I carry that my whole life.
and you
those
could probably do
experiences.
stuff around the house.
Yeah, I do.
See,
Some
and
things around the house.
Well, and
Now, my wife doesn't like the way the banister rail turned out, but
you did it.
Yeah.
You're not falling over.
yeah.
No,
not yet.
no. We with the roads, and you asked about the roads. Think about if we didn't influx that roads with all of that money, all of those contractors
Yeah.
that are working as subcontractors. They take their machine and their equipment and their workers and they go where there's roads being built. And
Yep.
if we're not building roads, they take all of that out of our state
Yeah.
to build roads in Ohio and Indiana when we need that industry. Not only do we need the roads fixed, but we need all that construction. We need those tradespeople. We need them to buy machines
Right.
from people in Michigan. So
Because MDOT doesn't build a road, right?
correct.
Contractors do.
Correct.
I think people think MDOT does.
They don't.
Yeah.
They oversee basically they
They oversee it.
oversee
They're
most of it.
management.
And so
They're asset managers.
Correct.
They're how they describe themselves.
yes.
Yeah.
So we need those those tradespeople.
Yep.
And our tradespeople are getting older. I mean, if you call a plumber and you do, call stuff to get repaired, you're finding that they're
They're not 22.
They're not.
No. I love to see the development of trades. Mm-hmm. I'm a huge fan of that.
Quick heads up, it's 147.
Okay. Thanks. I got one more question for you.
Fair.
Is there
Perfect.
anything else that you want that we haven't talked about you'd like to say?
I just hope that there's supporters out there that can vote for me and that they can reach out to me, DonnieSteele.com. And
Okay.
they can find anything out about, ask me questions, and see if they're in my district. I would appreciate that. And that there is a lot of waste in government, and we can do better with what we're doing right now. And I make that my mission. And I want people to be aware of it so they can push their legislators to make sure that they're held accountable.
All right. And you have a name that nobody's going to forget. Donnie
Donnie
Steele.
Steele.
My last question I ask everybody at the end of this podcast, which is called
Wealth is a choice. Boom.
is wealth, and whatever wealth means to you. It could mean money, could mean family, it could mean health, could mean abundance of something. Do you think that wealth is something that we have a choice over?
Absolutely. I think our environment plays a big role in it. However, I believe it's a choice and there's enough information out there to be able to be wealthy in all the categories that you said, and especially in the United States, we have that opportunity. And education's the key to wealth, health, fitness,
Yeah.
mental, and financially. Yes, I believe it's a choice. We just have to seek it.
And you were talking before we started today that one of the first things we do when we wake up in the morning is look at our phone and maybe get some negative news or something, and instead take the concerted effort to think about something positive instead. We can influence the very beginning of our day right from the get-go.
Yeah, the biggest person we have control of influencing is ourselves.
Yeah.
And sometimes we forget to
Yeah.
work on that. And so, like,
Yeah.
I listen to the podcast too. And so, today is going to be a great day.
Yeah.
And something good is going to happen. So those are my morning mantras for day 2.
Well, this made my day. Thank you,
Well,
Donnie.
Thank you.
I
I
appreciate
appreciate
you
it
very much.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thanks, James.
All right,
I
thanks.
appreciate it. Okay.
Cool.
Fun.
Ta-da!